Chapter 10, Sissy Jupe by Charles Dickens. Chapter 500, Dickens called the novel in which Sissy Jupe appears Hard Times. It was certainly hard times for children who had to go to the kind of schools that Mr. Thomas Gradgrind believed in. Mr. Gradgrind was a big square man, with a square coat and square shoulders, who thought that he knew all about education. He thought that the children in the schoolroom were like so many little pitchers, and the teacher's business was to fill them with facts. "Now what I want is facts," said Mr. Gradgrind. "Teach these boys and girls nothing but facts. This is the principle on which I bring up my own children, and this is the principle for these children. Stick to facts." Mr. Gradgrind, with another gentleman, had come to visit the school. Now Sissy Jupe was a bright little girl who would really enjoy using her own mind, but she didn't know how to use Mr. Gradgrind's mind, and she was very much upset when the great man pointed his square finger at her and said, "Girl number 20, I don't know that girl. Who is that girl?" "Sissy Jupe, sir," explained number 20, blushing, standing up and courtesying. "Sissy is not a name," said Mr. Gradgrind. "Don't call yourself Sissy. Call yourself Cecilia." "It's father as calls me Sissy, sir," returned the girl in a trembling voice, and with another courtesy. "Then he has no business to do it," said Mr. Gradgrind. "Tell him he mustn't. Cecilia Jupe, let me see, what is your father?" "He belongs to the horse riding, if you please, sir." Mr. Gradgrind frowned, and waved off the objectionable calling with his hand. "We don't want to know anything about that here. You mustn't tell us about that here. Your father breaks horses, don't he?" "If you please, sir, when they can get any to break, they do break horses in the ring, sir." "You mustn't tell us about the ring here. Very well then, describe your father as a horsebreaker. He doctors sick horses, I dare say." "Oh yes, sir." "Very well then, he is a veterinary surgeon, a farrier and horsebreaker. Give me your definition of a horse." Sissy Jupe, thrown into the greatest alarm by this demand. "Girl number 20, unable to define a horse," said Mr. Gradgrind, for the general behoof of all the little pitchers. "Girl number 20, possessed of no facts, in reference to one of the commonest of animals. Some boy's definition of a horse. Bitzer, yours." The square finger, moving here and there, lighted suddenly on Bitzer, perhaps because he chanced to sit in the same ray of sunlight which, darting in at one of the bare windows of the intensely whitewashed room, irradiated Sissy, for the boys and girls sat on the face of the inclined plane in two compact bodies, divided up the center by a narrow interval. And Sissy, being at the corner of a row on the sunny side, came in for the beginning of a sunbeam, of which Bitzer, being at corner of a row on the other side, a few rows in advance, caught the end. But whereas the girl was so dark-eyed and dark-haired that she seemed to receive a deeper and more lustrous color from the sun, when it shone upon her, the boy was so light-eyed and light-haired that the self-same rays appeared to draw out of him what little color he ever possessed. His cold eyes would hardly have been eyes, but for the short ends of lashes, which, by bringing them into immediate contrast with something paler than themselves, expressed their form. His short-cropped hair might have been a mere continuation of the sandy freckles on his forehead and face. His skin was so unwholesomely deficient in the natural tinge that he looked as though, if it were cut, he would bleed white. "Bitzer," said Thomas Gradgrind, "your definition of a horse." "Quadruped graminivorous, 40 teeth, namely 24 grinders, 4 eye teeth and 12 incisors. Sheds coat in the spring, in marshy countries, sheds hoofs too, hoofs hard but requiring to be shod with iron. Age known by marks in mouth. Thus, and much more, Bitzer." "Now girl number 20, said Mr. Gradgrind, "you know what a horse is." The third gentleman now slipped forth, briskly smiling. "That's a horse. Now, let me ask you girls and boys, would you paper a room with representations of horses?" After a pause, one half of the children cried in chorus, "Yes, sir." Upon which the other half, seeing in the gentleman's face that yes was wrong, cried out in chorus, "No, sir," as the custom is in these examinations. "Of course no, why wouldn't you?" A pause. One corpulent slow boy with a wheezy manner of breathing ventured the answer, because he wouldn't paper a room at all but would paint it. "You must paper it," said the gentleman rather warmly. "You must paper it," said Thomas Gradgrind, "whether you like it or not. Don't tell us you wouldn't paper it. What do you mean, boy?" I 100 explain to you then, said the gentleman, after another and a dismal pause, why you wouldn't paper a room with representations of horses. Do you ever see horses walking up and down the sides of rooms in reality? In fact, do you? Yes, sir, from one half. No, sir, from the other. Of course no, said the gentleman with an indignant look at the wrong half. Why then, you are not to see anywhere what you don't see in fact, you are not to have anywhere what you don't have in fact. What is called taste is only another name for fact. Thomas Gradgrind nodded his approbation. This is a new principle, a discovery, a great discovery, said the gentleman. Now, I 100 try you again. Suppose you were going to carpet a room. Would you use a carpet, having a representation of flowers upon it? There being a general conviction by this time that no, sir, was always the right answer to this gentleman, the chorus of no was very strong. Only a few feeble stragglers said yes, among them Sissy Jupe. Girl number 20, said the gentleman, smiling in the calm strength of knowledge. Sissy blushed and stood up. So you would carpet your room, or your husband's room if you were a grown woman and had a husband with representations of flowers, would you? Said the gentleman. Why would you? If you please, sir, I am very fond of flowers, returned the girl. And is that why you would put tables and chairs upon them, and have people walking over them with heavy boots? It wouldn't hurt them, sir. They wouldn't crush and wither, if you please, sir. They would be the pictures of what was very pretty and pleasant, and I would fancy. Aye, but you mustn't fancy, cried the gentleman, quite elated by coming so happily to his point. That's it, you are never to fancy. You are not, Cecilia Jupe, Thomas Gradgrind solemnly repeated, to do anything of that kind. Fact, said the gentleman, in fact, repeated Thomas Gradgrind. You are to be in all things regulated and governed, said the gentleman, by fact. We hope to have, before long, a board of fact, composed of commissioners of fact, who will force the people to be a people of fact, and of nothing but fact. You must discard the word fancy altogether. You have nothing to do with it. You are not to have, in any object of use or ornament, what would be a contradiction in fact. You don't walk upon flowers in fact. You cannot be allowed to walk upon flowers in carpets. You don't find that foreign birds and butterflies come and perch upon your crockery. You cannot be permitted to paint foreign birds and butterflies upon your crockery. You never meet with quadrupeds going up and down walls. You must not have quadrupeds represented upon walls. You must use, said the gentleman, for all these purposes, combinations and modifications, in primary colors of mathematical figures which are susceptible of proof and demonstration. This is the new discovery. This is fact. This is taste. The girl courtesied and sat down. She was very young, and she looked as if she were frightened by the matter-of-fact prospect the world afforded.